In this presentation, we will record the customer payment for invoices that had been issued in the past. Then we'll take that money and put it into the bank, recording a deposit with it. Let's get into it with Intuit's QuickBooks Online. Here we are in our Get Great Guitars file. We're first going to take a look at a flowchart on the desktop version real quick to see what our objective is. We're going to be entering a received payment. So in the past, we had entered an invoice, and that increased the accounts receivable and the bill. That's basically a bill to the customer. Now we got the money. So we're imagining possibly we got it in the mail, let's say. And now we're going to go to the received payment, collecting that money, putting it into undeposited funds rather than the checking account so that we can then take that money and go to the bank, depositing it into the bank in the same format that it will be grouped as on the bank statement. All right, let's go close this back out. We're going to go back to our new button in QuickBooks Online. We're going to say that this is going to be in the Money In section. We're on the Receive Invoice Payment. So remember, it's called Receive Invoice Payment currently here in QuickBooks Online. The actual form will be called just Receive Payment. We're looking for a Music Stuff Store. So that's our customer. So you can get it from the drop down or you can type it in. Music Stuff Store. That's the one we want. I'm going to pick that one up. And the date will be 2/26. So I'm just going to hit the plus button. So we get up to 2/26 here. 2/26. There we go. And then notice this time we actually have invoices. We're not getting a deposit for like no invoices now. Now we have the invoices down below, and we're going to select the invoice that we want to be applying to. We're going to say that we got paid for this first one. So we're going to click, I'm going to click on that check. That auto populates the amount up top. And we have our normal kind of receive payment type of process where we actually got money related to an invoice that was created in the past. What's this going to do when we save this? It will be, because it's a receive payment, increasing some type of cash account, in our case, undeposited funds. Other side going to the accounts receivable, decreasing accounts receivable related to Music Stuff Store. Now, instead of hitting save and close, I'm going to select the drop down or drop up in this case, and it's got a down arrow, but it really kind of goes up. And then we're going to go to the save and new. So we're going to say save and new because we're going to do this again. If you go out of it and come back into it, then just simply go back into the receive payment window. Let's get it back up to 100. This is going to be for Anderson Guitars. So I'm going to select the drop down or just simply type in Anderson Guitars. So there we have it. Tab. We're going to have the date here to be the 26th as well. And then the payment method, I don't think I put I'm going to put a check for the payment method, and it's going to be here. And then undeposited funds is going to be increasing. So we're going to be increasing undeposited funds. Here's the invoice down below. Now this invoice, you'll recall, was the one that Anderson put a down payment on. And therefore we had the down payment first. And then we had the invoice that we entered later. And then the amount that is now due is going to be that $297.50. So they still owe $297. In other words, they gave us a down payment, and then we give them the invoice, which was for $547.50 minus the down payment that they provided us, means they still owe us the $297.50 that we invoiced out to them, and now they paid us that. So what's this going to do? It's going to do the same thing, of course. It's going to be increasing the undeposited funds. The other side being accounts receivable going down, and that will be affecting the accounts receivable related to Anderson Guitars. This time we're going to say save and close. So I'm going to say the drop down, which is really a drop up, and we're going to go to the save and close, and then I'm going to select that button. Now let's take a look at the financial statements, or at least the trial balance. So I'm going to go to the trial balance. We've seen the received payments before, so I'm just going to go to the trial balance rather than the balance sheet and income statement. So let's go up top and type in trial balance, because that's the report we want to look at. And then I'm going to go to the trial balance, and then I'm going to go to up top and change the dates from 01/01/20 to 12/31/20. Run that report. Then I'm going to right click on the tab up top, right-clicking on that tab up top and duplicating that tab. Next, I'm going to close the hamburger. I'm going to hold down Control and scroll up a bit so we're at the 125 and we can see what's going on here. So we have in undeposited funds now. We have that 1,698. I'm going to click on that 1,698. Scroll back down and we'll see our payments that we see down below. So these are the last two that we had recorded, these two items. If I click on either one of those, we'll go to the receive payment item. Just note that the form is receive payment, and the amount that's going to show up here, or the item that's going to show up here, is payment. So that payment, in other words, let's just click on it, will tie out to the receive payment form. So I'm going to close this back out. Going to scroll back up top. Going to go back to the trial balance up top. So we know that the undeposited funds, and the other side that's going to be affected is accounts receivable. It goes down. So I'm going to select the accounts receivable. We're going to go on down to the payments, and we have it for Music Stuff Store and Anderson. Music Stuff Store and Anderson. So there we have that. If I go back to our data on the left-hand side, holding down Control, bringing it back down to 100% with the scrolling down, and then I look at the sales, and we take a look at the customers, and if we were to pick a particular customer, or the ones that we're working with here, such as Anderson, and scroll down, say I'm going to pick Anderson right there. There's Anderson. And look at the detail. We can then see the transaction detail as well. So what we just entered was the payment on 2/26, and there's the detail related to it. That's going to be relating to, you'll recall that they had the payment that happened first, which was the $250, and then the invoice. So if we take a look at this actual invoice, let's take a look at that invoice, and scroll down, you'll note it's now paid off, and you'll recall that it's paid, and it's got the two items that are now applied to it. So if I select this two payment made, then it's going to give us the detail on the two payments that were made, rather than the one payment, the original being the deposit, and then the rest of it being made after the guitar was received and shipped and invoiced for. All right, closing this back out, we're now going to go to the deposit side of things. So if I go back to the trial balance, we note, and if I go back up top and go back to the trial balance this way, then we note that we have this amount in undeposited funds. We would like to now put that into the checking account. So we're going to go to the checking account and put that in to our bank account. Let's do that by going back to the tab on the left. We're going to go to a deposit slip or deposit form. So we're going to go to the plus button up top. That's going to be in the other section at this point. We're going to go into the record bank deposit. So we're going to record the bank deposit. We've got the checking account. That's what we want. We're going to keep the date at the 2/26. It's going to be coming out of the checking account, and we are going to be working with the items up top, because these are the items that are coming from the receive payment form or the sales receipts forms, as is indicated here by the payment forms. The items down below, you'll recall, are areas where we can just simply enter an account. For example, if it was a loan or something like that, we had a deposit and the other side going to loan or something like that. So we're going to deposit all of these deposits that we have now. So we've got the Anderson, the two amounts there, and then the music, and then the string music. So that's going to be 4 items that we're going to include for a total amount of $1,698.75. What's this going to do? It's going to increase the checking account by that $1,698.75, which will be reflected with one total, which hopefully is the same total that we will see on the bank statement when we get the bank statement, so we can compare those two out. Undeposited funds will then be going down, and it'll show the detail of the 4 separate items so that we can match up the increases and decreases in that account. Let's check it out. We're going to go to Save and Close. We're then going to go back to the Trial Balance tab. I'm going to refresh the screen, refresh it. I only work with fresh screens. I like to have a fresh screen. So I'm going to close out the hamburger over here. I'm going to hold down Control. I'm going to scroll up a bit, and we're at the 125%. We're going to check out the checking account first. Let's go on in to the checking account. Scroll down, and we should see our deposit at the bottom here somewhere. There it is on 2/26. That's the one we want. We have the one deposit. So those 4 items are being reflected by that one deposit, which again, we hope will be reflected on the bank statement in the same format, making the reconciliation process easy. Back to our report. Going back to the report. Then the undeposited funds now at 0 because we deposited everything, but the 0 is still showing up on the trial balance because we had activity in it during this time period. Selecting it, then we can go down and we see our deposits, but now there's 4 of them. We didn't actually make 4 deposits, but that one deposit had those 4 pieces to it. That helps us to basically tie out the increases and decreases in the undeposited funds in case there's a problem with the undeposited funds. If we go into any of those 4 items for that particular deposit, then we will see the deposit, we'll see the detail of those 4 items, and we'll see the total amount that was deposited, which was that $1,698.75, which hopefully is the amount that ties out to what we will see on the bank statement. I'm going to go back, going to close this back out. We're going to go back up to our trial balance. I'm going to go back up so I can then go back over to the trial balance. This is where we are at this point in time, and like we say, we will be printing out the trial balance after each session so you can kind of compare and contrast, making sure you're in the same spot.